Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Let's get ready to rumble! This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. 5 seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes! Little roller up along first. Behind the man. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight and the Mets win it.
Yes, welcome back. This is Sports and Sorts, episode 184, and it is live on a Friday morning on YouTube at around 10-ish as usual. You can find us, if you want to find us, you can always hit that notification bell and subscribe button, and it'll let you know whenever we go live. And also, if you enjoy the video, you can give it a thumbs up. You can find Sports and Sorts anywhere podcasts are played. Our social media is always on our website, which is www.sportsandsorts.libsyn.com. And I am one of your hosts. My name is Shane Moore.
And I'm the Brian Man.
And if you comment during the show, we will put it up on the screen. So today, what we are going to be talking about are lots of sports. No sorts today, I don't believe. You never know. It could actually get there, but no sorts today. In the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs, Trailblazers blowing the lead, Raptors blowing a lead, and our thoughts on that. And of course, I'm going to have a few thoughts on Steph Curry as well. But to lead the show off today, we will be talking about the Jets. They have made some interesting decisions with some leadership roles. Adam Gase is now not only the head coach, but also the interim GM. He has become the first head coach / GM who looks like a serial killer. Those eyes are so incredibly intense. He just can't shut those rage monocles off. But most importantly, we have a special guest on the show today. The creator and host of After the Gridiron podcast, which features interviews with retired football players and discusses their lives after leaving the game. He has interviewed people like running back Thomas Jones, who has rushed for over 1,000 yards 5 times in his career. Denver Broncos, Carl Mecklenburg, who was a beast. You have the Colts defensive end, Robert Mathis, who everybody should know, especially if you're a little younger. So we have the host of After the Gridiron podcast, Lyle Green, on the show today. How are you doing today, Lyle?
I'm doing great this morning. How are you guys doing?
We're doing very well. We appreciate you coming on today. And just real quick, you on your social media, on Twitter, which you can find it, what is it, at Lyle_Green?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you can find him there on Twitter, and we will get into your the social media presence for your show as well a little bit later. But you played professional football?
I did. Yes, I played in the Canadian Football League. So I played up here in Canada. And yeah, I played for 10 seasons. I played 9 with the BC Lions, and I played 1 year with the Calgary Stampeders. So yeah, it's a pretty good league, and I'm not sure how many people down there know it, but it's a few guys know about it, and there's been a lot of great players I've played here and went back down to the NFL, like Doug Flutie and
Buffalo Bills, baby.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great league, and yeah, I enjoyed my time up here.
All right, yeah. So I still have so many fond memories because I there was a very short period of time where I followed Doug Flutie in the Canadian Football League, like a lot of football players did, because he just dominated that league for such a long time. And then, and then he came back, and the Bills were able to get him, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And what did the Bills do? Of course, they ruined Doug Flutie over here.
They benched him, yeah.
And I could not believe that for Rob Johnson. Like, what the?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, he was pretty, very pretty to look at, but he was not a good quarterback, and that still, to this day, haunts me. It hurts me on the inside because I'm such a Doug Flutie, champion, and it's just, that was like the beginning. It wasn't even the beginning of the downfall of that that team, but it was just another just kind of little dagger in the side of your ribs.
Fluty's got to be the all-time face of the CFL, right? Like, how many Grey Cups did that guy win? He won like.
He won a lot. I think he won like a bunch of MVPs too. So yeah, he's definitely one of the all-time greats, and definitely highly regarded up here for sure.
Yeah, he should have been more highly regarded here, but sorry, my Bills ruined him. All right, so today we, like I said, we're going to be talking about the NBA. We'll be getting to that in the second half, but first off, we're going to be talking about the NFL, and we got a great show. Let's go.
You are listening to Sports and Swords with Shane and the Bry Man.
So first off, Adam Intense Eyes Gase takes over as ruler of the Jets, and the Bry Man, you had wanted to talk about this with someone who actually cares. And I kid, of course. But so, Brian, I'm going to throw this one to you and our guest. So bring the fire, Bry Man. I talked about this, or the concern. I'm not sure what you have for these Jets fans, but bring it. Let's see what you got.
So, all right. So let's unpack this, Lyle. So earlier this week, Jets owners Woody and Chris Johnson fired GM Mike McCagnon, who, by the way, absolutely deserved it. The guy had a horribly poor draft record. I think he oversaw 3 drafts with this team, and I believe only 11 of his picks are still even on the team, which is really bad. Yeah. In his time there, he had a .375 winning percentage, so he was not good, and he probably did deserve this. But you have to admit that the timing of this is very odd. You let him run your draft in 2019. You let him spend over $150 million of your dollars in free agency to get, among other guys, Le'Veon Bell. Now you appoint Googly Eyes Gase, okay, as your czar of football. You give him total control of this team when, quite frankly, he hasn't even remotely earned the right to do so, especially if his tenure in Miami is any indication of any of his skill sets whatsoever. And look, as much as I love the Jets' existence, because the Jets make my mediocre Miami Dolphins look like the San Antonio Spurs. So, Lyle, I have to ask you, what the hell is going on in New York?
I have no idea. I think it's the whole city. I mean, the Giants are all messed up now. The Jets are messed up. I think it's a football virus that's spreading around the area. The Knicks can't get Zion. That poor city. I mean, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, like you said, I mean,
everybody on the Yankees is hurt.
Miami.
The Yankees have the most unprecedented injury mass unit you've ever seen in sports, not just baseball.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's something in that crazy. Water, that water that's making that pizza bread so good.
That must be it. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It really is.
That's crazy. Yeah, that he gets fired from Miami, and then surprisingly, the Jets pick him up. So I was pretty surprised by that, and now he's got control over the whole organization. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's such a head scratching move because look. First of all, when he was with the Dolphins, he didn't necessarily have say over personnel. He was, they had some chefs there, they had guys who bought the groceries, guys like Chris Greer, who is actually now the senior vice president of football operations in Miami, and Mike Tannenbaum, who thankfully was exiled. But Gase was the chef. He was the cook. And, his first year was good, 10-6. But then, it was just a total disaster after that. It really fell apart very quickly for him. Injuries certainly played a part in it. But he's a strange guy. And you have to wonder, what are the Jets thinking putting a guy like this in control of their team who has, frankly, no experience running an organization? I mean, he's coached. But, I wonder. And Lyle, I guess I'm kind of curious on your opinion about this when it comes to guys like Adam Gase. Why do you think a guy like Adam Gase, with the resume that he has, why do you think he's going to continue to get chances in the NFL? The only thing I can think is it comes down to 2 words: Peyton Manning. Because Peyton loves him. Peyton has, professed his love for him and talked openly about how Gase helped him in his career. But how do you suppose a guy like Adam Gase gets opportunities like this when he really doesn't have the resume to say that he deserves a role like this?
I mean, the league is all about connections. That's what it's all about. And if you know the right people and you have the right connections, that's where you get your opportunities. So, like you said, with him knowing Manning and having that endorsement from Peyton Manning, that's a huge asset for him to have. So, once you have something like that, you get more opportunities. So, we'll see how things work out with him with the Jets. I'm not holding my breath on how things are going to turn out, but. Yeah, it's like I said, it's about opportunities and getting chances that having the right connections makes a huge difference. Like the guy in Arizona, like you said, his college record is definitely not something that validates a head coaching position.
Yeah.
Kingsbury.
Very curious. That whole thing is curious too.
I mean, he was an offensive coordinator at USC and then goes to head coach at Arizona. I mean.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I believe that what this is, everybody's trying to get another lightning strike here. They're all trying to get it, and that is the Bill Belichick situation here, because Bill Belichick did not have a good record with the Browns. Obviously, he was very poor, but then he goes into the Patriots and ends up getting full control over everything, and he ends up dominating the league for a long period of time. Now, people had said a long time ago that Adam Gase was potentially the next big Bill Belichick. You know, he was a great coordinator. And on top of that, he had a great mind. He worked with Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning sung his praises. Things are going very well for Adam Gase. Obviously, when he came to the Dolphins, the Dolphins' upper management hasn't been the best over the years. So therefore, I can understand how people might want to give him a second chance because of that. Now, I can't say that he helped the situation much there. He did seem to correct Tannehill a little bit over the course of the time. He did seem to help Jay Cutler in Chicago at that point in time, but he hasn't really done anything huge when it comes to being a head coach. Being a head coach is a little bit different than just an offensive coordinator. Not everybody has this Sean McVay kind of mind where they can just kind of run wild and get all the talent in the world around him to be able to do it. So it'll be very interesting to see. I had read that Gase had not wanted to be the GM. And that was he was butting heads with the GM, but he did not want to be the GM because he didn't feel like he could do both well. And then now he gets thrown into that role. I don't know if it's thrown in or not. I mean, you never know what's actually true when that comes to the media from these people, because they never seem to really, it's more half-truths than anything else. So it'd be very interesting to see how that actually plays out if he is in fact the interim GM and within the next couple of months, he is no longer the interim GM. If he actually signs some people over the next couple of months and what happens with that, I think it's a little too early to really throw too much gasoline on this fire, because it's too early because you don't know which way it's actually headed yet. I can tell you which way it's headed. Yeah?
There's only one destination for this train, and that's off the tracks, buddy.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I am still a big Sam Darnold fan. I like him a lot. I think that they have their quarterback. I'm not sure about Gase yet because obviously he's got a weird track record. But
so you know what? I got a question for you.
I will tell you right now, Adam Gase is a better fit than our boy Todd Bowles.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
And I just know we got our ass kicked. The film will tell that. You don't see signs of getting your ass kicked. You just get it kicked. Obviously, when you get your ass kicked like this and handed to you, I don't care whether it's Monday night or Sunday morning, you don't want these kind of games to happen, and it's the first time this year has happened. They kicked their ass physically. I'm angry every time we lose. I'm not going to sit here and throw the podium at anybody because that'd be a lawsuit, but if I could, I would. I'm angry after any other loss. I'm angry when I physically get my ass kicked instead of something happening mentally to get your ass kicked. When you get your ass kicked physically, that's embarrassing.
So Todd Bowles, we love that guy. It's unfortunate. I'm sure he was probably elated when he was no longer the Jets head coach.
I'm sure he was. I wouldn't want to deal with the
you wouldn't really be able to tell.
Yeah.
He'd give one of these. He'd be kind of like, I'm fired. Like that, and maybe a little. Like that would be about it. Like, yeah, like, he's so like melancholy.
All right, but I have a question for you, Lyle. How
Yeah.
So think about this though. How long do you think the leash is for a guy like Adam Gase going into this year? Because keep in mind, something here. The Jets are, as of right now, they actually are kind of considered to be a playoff team. They are certainly positioning themselves with a second-year quarterback who had a pretty decent rookie year. You bring in Le'Veon Bell, who is, for all intents and purposes, the best all-purpose running back in the league, and he has had a year off, so his body is mended from any physical ailments he might have had.
Except for the weight that he gained.
What is it? Well, yeah, but you know what? You know that guy's going to come. When this season starts, that guy's going to be shredded. We all know that. So, but what do you think the leash is? Like, how long do you think Adam Gase gets? Because if this goes disastrously bad in year one, and they have anywhere from a 500 record or below, and they do not make the playoffs, and that whole locker room is a mess, how long do you think Gase gets? Because I'll tell you, this New York media, the Miami media was tough. It's nothing like the New York media. He's already on the back pages right now, and he hasn't even coached a game yet.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, I think his leash was probably pretty long. I mean, they're kind of a young team, even though they might have some playoff aspirations. They're still pretty young. So with Darnold there, this kind of developing, and him being like the quarterback guy, I might think that he might get quite some time to develop the team and get things going. They do have Le'Veon Bell, which that's kind of a thing that I'm not sure how that's going to work out, because I think by the reports he's not really high on Le'Veon Bell, and that's kind of one of the reasons why they fired the GM. Yeah, he didn't want him. So how that situation pans out, we'll kind of see. That might have an effect on how his tendency there stands. But I think his leash is pretty decent. I mean, if they don't make the playoffs this year, if they have like a 7-9 record, I think. Even a little bit worse than that, 6-10. I think he'll still get another year. I don't think they would make any moves, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens if they go 6-10. What Le'Veon Bell will be saying in the clubhouse.
Yeah,
because that is the problem. That is the biggest problem with a new head coach. It's tough to have these veteran presence that are not the most friendly when things aren't going great. So even when they are going great, I mean, things were going very well in Pittsburgh, and still lots of noise being made.
Yeah.
I mean, they won a lot of games over the course of the time that he was there. Even when he got suspended multiple times, and I think they still stuck by him. They kept on going with him, but he still made those. I mean, obviously, I know everybody wants to be paid. I get that. You want to be paid. You're one of the best at your craft. You need to be paid. But he made a ton of noise. It was, him and Antonio Brown. Like, it's just that that's a different situation altogether. But it'll be very interesting to see how a newer head coach comes in and is able to possibly wrangle someone like Le'Veon Bell, who has been known to make some serious noise. All right. So let's get into, let's switch topics over here into some other NFL talk, and that is the upcoming season. I want to get here the Brian Mann's overall thoughts and real quick, and then get into Lyle as well, what his overall thoughts. Actually, you know what? We'll lead with you, Lyle. Go ahead and just let us know what your overall thoughts on the upcoming NFL season are. If you think there's anybody that we should be looking out for, or that's kind of maybe not that people aren't really keeping an eye on. Or whatever you want to talk about here. Let us know what you think about this upcoming season.
Yeah, I think there's always a surprise team that comes up out of nowhere in the new season. So who that team will be this year is going to be kind of tough to say. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I know if they're on people's radar, but I think they're going to have a strong season, all biases aside.
I got a question for you, being a Cowboys fan. I have trashed Dak Prescott on a lot of occasions. I think that he is an underwhelming quarterback. I think he is probably an average, at best, quarterback. What are your thoughts? What position did you play in the CFL?
I played running back. I was a running back.
All right. So as a running back, I mean, obviously you must have some serious envy for the skill set and that Ezekiel Elliott has. He is a beast when it comes, and he can obviously make any other offensive players a little bit better because everybody has to focus on him. What are your thoughts on Dak Prescott?
I would say he's a good quarterback. He's not the guy that's going to throw out the crazy numbers and get the 50 touchdowns and do what Patrick Mahomes does, but he's a guy that makes the clutch plays in the clutch moment. So he's a guy that will make the right throws and make that third down, convert that third down play, and convert that special play when you need it in the crucial times in the game. So does he have some flaws? Obviously, yes. He's not maybe the most accurate player. He might make some bad throws, but he manages the team well. He controls the ball. He protects the ball. And like I said, he makes big plays in big moments. So overall, I'd say he's definitely a winner and a guy that can definitely win a Super Bowl. And I think he's up for a big payday coming up pretty soon from the sounds of things.
He's going to make $30 million.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's worth it, to be honest, but that's what the market is.
The market dictates it.
Dictates exactly. So I definitely think he's up for a big payday.
I do not think he's worth that at all.
He's not, but you know what though? And I tell this to my kids all the time. I said your value is based on whatever anybody is willing to pay you.
It's true.
If somebody is willing to pay you $30 million a year, then that's what you're worth.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
And Jacoby Ellsbury is totally worth.
Jacoby Ellsbury, according to somebody, is worth $22 million a year.
Yep. And he's played like 8 games in how many years?
I really appreciate Lyle's assessment of Dak because I think that's where I am with him too. Because I'm not as down on him as Shane is. I do feel like Dak Prescott is the kind of guy you can win a Super Bowl with, but I do not feel like you said, Lyle, like he'll never be a Patrick Mahomes guy.
I will take that bet.
He's not going to. Oh, of course. Who would take that? I would take that guy in a heartbeat. I mean, I would take
the bet that he will not win a Super Bowl. I will take a bet that he will not ever win a Super Bowl. I would take that bet.
I might take that bet.
I'll take that.
He will never win a Super Bowl.
I think I would take the bet that he would because I think the Cowboys are actually kind of close. Oh, you know what? There was one question, Lyle. So actually, speaking of Cowboys, there is a question I want to ask you about the Cowboys too. Jason Witten. Is he coming back because he had an itch to scratch again, or is he coming back because he did not want to be in that booth anymore, and he thought the only way to get out of there to make a transition,
a smooth exit?
Yeah, a smooth exit was to say, all right, I got to play football again. What do you think about that?
I think it might be a little 50-50 there. I was definitely shocked to hear that he's coming back and leaving the booth because. Yeah, I guess I thought he did a decent job, but I guess a lot of the skeptics and people in the business were kind of hounding him and saying.
I mean, in his defense,
I think Tony Romo. Tony Romo was.
Yeah,
that was the problem. Tony Romo was so good, and he's just amazing at what he's doing. Yeah, just made everyone look bad. So
I mean, Tony Romo makes guys who have been doing this for a long time look bad.
Yeah, I mean, he's just amazing.
He's a soothsayer, I hate to say it because I was actually one of the guys who always thought highly of Romo, and I know Cowboy fans gave him a lot of flack, and I understand that to some extent, but I always thought very highly of him.
Oh yeah, I love Romo. Yeah.
And but I will tell you, when all is said and done, if assuming he continues to go along this path, I believe that his broadcast career will be far more prominent than his playing career, and that's really saying something. The guy was a really good football player.
Yeah. He was, yeah. People always harp on his bad games and the bad plays he made, but yeah, if you look at his career overall, I mean, he had a great career. He's a great quarterback.
There's 2 plays if you took away from Tony Romo's career, people would look on him much more fondly. One was obviously the fumbled snap on the extra point.
Yeah,
and then the failed attempt to get into the end zone, and then there was
well, if he connected with Des Bryant on that one pass, if that was actually called a catch, his career would be totally different.
Yeah, that too. Right. Yeah, those are probably the 2. I mean, yes, I think he would be thought of differently. I always just think of that botched extra point, though. That to me is the one thing that I think. And it's every time there's criticism of him, if it's on ESPN or the NFL Network, that highlight is the first one they show.
That comes. I know.
It's so unfair because it really gives a false narrative. The guy was a gamer. He was tough as nails. He played through a lot of pain. he was a really good player. I always felt like he was a good leader. You know, I mean, again, he could. Yes, could he win the big one? No, he didn't really. He never even got there. But a definite high quality player in the league, and I think. But I'll tell you what, though, people are going to forget any of the downsides of his playing career, just with his broadcasting career. He is an unbelievable talent. I love listening to him. He's just
he's
great.
Awesome. He's so good at it.
Him telling you every play that's going to happen before it happens is hilarious.
It's just amazing. It's awesome.
It almost makes you think like the NFL is scripted because he knows it so well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, his football knowledge is just off the charts.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that it'll translate to golf and he'll actually get into one of those opens someday.
Yeah, that could be his other calling because I know how good of a golfer he is. Yeah. But Lyle, I actually want to go back to Shane's question though. Like, if you just had to pick one, and let's not include the Cowboys because I wouldn't really consider the Cowboys to be a surprise team. But if you had to pick just like one team that you think could make that jump from like a third to second or a fourth to second or maybe even a worst to first, who would that? If you had just like maybe one team, who would it be?
Let me think. I think your Dolphins could have a pretty good season, actually.
That's a terrible.
Oh.
All right, I'll let you go through. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you dig the hole a little deeper.
Oh no, I guess you're not in the green on that one.
No, but that's okay. I want to hear. No, but you know what? I'd love to hear your assessment as to why you think that could be. I wouldn't mind hearing it.
Yeah, with the new quarterback that's coming in, I think he can do a good job. I think that was a great pickup for them.
Yeah.
And they had a pretty good season last year, and I think they're on the rise. So I think they can make a move in the AFC East and make some hay in the playoffs.
Well, what about a team that's closer to you guys up in what about the Bills? Canada's in the Bills. They're very close to each other here. Come on, like. Let's show some love.
I do. My cousin is probably one of the biggest Bills fans as well. So I always tease him about the Bills all the time. But they're close as well. But I'm not sold on their quarterback. I'm just not sold on.
Okay, all right. I mean, he's.
Yeah.
I don't.
I know he's young.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, but that's kind of my.
It gives me some concerns because obviously his close comparison is Matthew Stafford. But he's not quite as accurate, and Matthew Stafford's never been a super accurate quarterback as it is, and it makes me a little nervous. But I do like his toughness. I think he's a little too crazy at times by trying throwing his body in harm's way. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens with him over the course of time. I'm cautiously optimistic on the Bills over the next 2 years. Cautiously optimistic, I will say, because typically I'm very down in the dumps and never give them any due. Even the year that they went to the playoffs, I was like, I don't know how they got there. This is ridiculous. This team's horrible.
Their defense was good.
Well, their defense has always been really good, but that's for some reason they just were able, to rally and put up enough points on the board to be able to eke out win after win, and it was just very, very weird to see, especially since. Their offense was just really bad. I mean, it was really bad. So I don't know. It was interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, if I had to pick a team that I think is going to maybe make that leap, it would have to be the Raiders. I like what they did this offseason. I know Antonio Brown is a potential problem child, but you know what? He is arguably the most productive and maybe the best receiver in football. I don't think he's the best receiver in football, but I mean, he's certainly in the conversation. And when you look at just the way that this team has hoarded draft picks and what they're building, and I feel like they had a pretty good draft this year too. I think that's a team. I'm not going to say they could go to first because I can't see them passing the Chiefs, but I do think that they could make a pretty good leap. And I think it's also fair to say, and this is not a bold prediction by any stretch, that the Browns are
the Browns,
take that next step. Yeah. I mean, they're going to take that next step.
They're making the playoffs.
They should make the playoffs, and you could maybe make the argument with the Steelers being officially without Le'Veon Bell anymore and officially without Antonio Brown, that maybe they're ripe for the picking. So we'll see. But I would say the Raiders, though, would probably, if I had a quote-unquote bold prediction, I would say it would be the Raiders getting into the playoffs.
I mean, they're not too far removed from playoff situations.
No.
They have They have a good quarterback. So if I had to ask you one last question before we leave, Lyle, what is your kind of what's the weirdest prediction that you'd have for this upcoming season? Like what is there something random that's going to happen that you think that's just you have an inkling that, like, I don't know, some random wide receiver is going to end up leading the league in receptions, or Le'Veon Bell is going to come back and he's going to rush for 1,800 yards with 30 touchdowns. Like, is there something crazy that you think that's going to happen? Is Sam Darnold going to win the MVP? Like, what's going to happen that's going to be kind of odd? The random odd question that's never really happens, but sometimes if you make the right guess, you sound like a genius.
I would say maybe this might be the year the Patriots start to fall. Maybe this is the year that
from your lips to God's ears.
Yes.
Is Tom Brady he's a year older, and all the change with the coaching staff there, and it's got to happen eventually, and I think this could be the year that it happens.
I've been calling that for the last 2 years, and I was
for the last 2 years.
Yeah,
not working out so well.
Yeah,
Stop calling it.
It hasn't. I'm going to hop on that bandwagon again this year. That's. It's got to happen.
It's got to happen.
Father Time always wins.
Yeah.
You can't beat time. I don't care
and
if Tom Brady, whatever. You can't do it.
Exactly.
My body's been falling apart like crazy since I hit 40.
Yeah, losing Gronk, I think, is going to be a big blow for them as well. So, I think this could be the year.
Yeah. I'm not.
You're not sold on that?
I don't know how much you know about us, but like Brian, not only hates when the name Patriots comes up, he turns blood red. He gets angry. He starts. We have all of these different quotes from him about Tom Brady and everything like this that are absolutely outrageously hilarious. Like this.
If Patriots fans were pizzas, they'd be cocksucker supremes.
We have that. We have.
Anytime Tom Brady walks on a field, you are well within your right to throw a big floppy on that.
So he does stuff like that all the time. He goes a little bananas, gets a little blood red, hates and he not only that, but he was born the same exact day as Tom Brady.
No way.
Yes.
Oh wow.
August 3rd, 1977. We share the same birthday.
And
I share birthdays with some really questionable people, Lyle. Between Tom Brady and Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart.
It's
Hey, Martha Stewart's friends with Snoop Dogg. You can't hate on her.
I know she is, and that's all well and good, but she's still a criminal.
Still Martha Stewart. Yeah.
So I share birthdays with cheaters and criminals. I'm not really sure what that is. I haven't evaded. I'm not a tax evader, not to my knowledge, anyway. And I certainly haven't deflated footballs, or spied on other teams, or broken cell phones, or God knows what else. And,
secret meetings in the bathroom with footballs.
I haven't done any of that stuff. So I'm not saying I'm better than Tom Brady, but I'm better than Tom Brady.
not at football. But just your morals. You have better morals.
Yeah, and I don't feel like that's saying much. Yeah, but I do. It's true, Lyle. I hate the Patriots with just a seething passion. I actually hate them more than the Red Sox, which is really saying something, because as a Yankee fan, you're born into despising most things in Boston. But there is no hatred like there's no scorn like that I have for the New England Patriots. They've really taken it to the next level. And the truth is, it's not so much about the organization; it's actually more about their fan base. They defend that team to no end. If you talk to a Patriot fan, your average Patriot fan, about the history and the fact that maybe some, if not all, of these titles might be a little bit tainted. They will shoot you down. They immediately kind of like they kind of curl up into a ball, and they're like, I'm not gonna hear this. It's BS. It's garbage. Where's your proof of this and that? And it's exhausting. It's actually like the primary reason that I got off of Facebook, because I couldn't deal with Patriot fans anymore. They're just the most unaccountable group of clowns that I've ever engaged, and I couldn't stand it anymore. And I was just like, you know what? I'm done with you guys, because there's just no talking sense in the. I mean, I have questioned. I have said some horrible things about Patriot fans, Lyle. I've questioned their moral character and fiber. I've actually asked most of them if any of them have ever had children, and if they have, they should please stop, and if they haven't, don't ever have any, because we don't need any of your little demon monster children roaming the quiet countryside. This world is in a bad enough state. We really don't need little Patriot fans running around making things worse.
We need more Patriot fans around.
We just don't need any more of that. So,
yeah, I see. So tell us how you feel there, Brian. I'm not sure yet. Not sure where you stand with the Patriots there.
I think I covered enough. Maybe some other time.
Okay.
Dive deeper into my psychological issues.
All right. So, well, that's pretty much our time for the NFL today. Lyle, I want to really thank you for coming on the show today and talking football with us a little bit. We'd love to have you on again at some point in time. Can you let people know where they can find you on the internet, on the social media?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The handle is at Lyle Green, at Gridiron, so AT Gridiron, RIRON.
Okay.
And you can find me there. You can find me on my website. It's www.atgridiron.com, and you can get all the information there. You can check out the podcast and see all the information is on there as well. So
I already started following you on both.
It's been a pleasure with you guys. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. Thanks.
And we will definitely reach out to you guys. Reach out to you again when maybe when the season gets a little bit closer. Maybe next next month? Maybe a month after.
Maybe when we do like our prediction show, it'd be good to have him on. And maybe run through.
And then he can tell us how ridiculous we are.
Yeah.
He'd be like, "What are you talking about? Like what? What? The Bills are gonna have a winning record? What? No, what are you talking about?
Bills are undefeated season? What are you talking about? Yeah, it'd be great. I'd love to join you guys. It'd be a lot of fun.
All right, cool. Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on. I will put a little description in the description. I'll put your handles, and on top of that, your website as well, where they can go check out the After the Gridiron podcast. I definitely check it out. There are some players that I said obviously Carl Mecklenburg and Robert Mathis. Those are two guys that. Mecklenburg was a guy that I remember using in, I can't remember which Tecmo Bowl it was, but I remember using him and loving him because he would get me a lot of sacks. The linebackers in the Tecmo Bowl back in the day would get you tons of sacks. And then on top of that, obviously Robert Mathis, he is unquestionable. I mean, I don't even know. When did he retire? How long ago did he retire? A couple years ago, right?
Yeah, not that long ago.
Yeah, and I assume that he is going to be a Hall of Famer. If he's not, then that's a travesty because he's got 100 and something sacks. He was just a beast for years.
I think he's got
all-time leader for tackle for losses. I think so.
He is, and he was a really good dude. I mean, something that because you don't get to hear a lot of interviews with these guys. Especially the defensive guys who don't make a lot of noise off the field. You don't hear a lot about. And Robert Mathis was a beast, and he's with your interview that you did, he is a really good dude.
Really good dude.
He was so
real nice
menacing on the field. You would not think that.
I know.
You would think like, dude, this guy is going to eat me. And no,
exactly.
He was a really good dude. Surprisingly, just super sweet. So I definitely say go check those interviews out. And definitely follow Lyle on Twitter and Facebook.
Appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much.
No,
thanks, Lyle.
Thanks for
care,
coming
buddy.
on. All right, we'll talk to you later.
All right, take care.
All right. So we're gonna get into the NFL here. I mean, not the NFL, the NBA. Let's get into it. We only have about 10 minutes tops here left, but I need to talk about some of this. I mean, because we had a couple of things that happened in the NBA, which were a bunch of blown leads. You have the Trailblazers who blew a big lead last night. They were up about 10, couldn't hold on to it. The fire of the Splash Brothers, particularly Steph Curry, was just too much for them to handle. And then on top of that, Iguodala came up with some good key stops as well. But The one that I really wanted to touch on, and this is kind of just the one I want to lead with, really. The Raptors blowing a 10-point lead to the Bucks. And it's not because of what you would think, like Giannis just dominating or Middleton raining threes. It's Brook Lopez who steps up, and he essentially is the one that really gave them the victory in that, which is if you have a Brook Lopez back in the day, and I'm not talking that far back, a few years, 3, 4 years, 5 years ago, he was a really good player. Really good player. He's like what Giannis is 2.0. Actually, he's probably better than that. He's like a 3.0 version of Brook Lopez back then. And Brook Lopez was really good. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that there's any way that the Raptors can come back? I mean, particularly with how well Kyle Lowry played, how well, Leonard played. Like, he put up a lot of points. I don't know if he played great, but he put up a lot of points. Lowry put up a bunch of points. But they just could not stop because they don't have a true big man that can stop Giannis, let alone Giannis and his lower counterpoint, Brook Lopez.
It's definitely a deflating loss because you had a
and they've done this a lot with against Cleveland. I mean,
yeah. I mean, you had a real opportunity the other night because that was on Wednesday night.
Yes.
To really send a message and say, you know what, we're gonna be a force in this series. We're gonna take game 1 in your home, and then we're gonna, worst case scenario, we'll go back to Toronto, split, and we will have home court. And they really, really blew that. They really did. And yes, Lopez was quite the force in that game.
Fire, 10 rebounds,
and that's
like 30
and
points.
what you saw out of Brook Lopez is what the Bucks are going to need to be able to win a title this year. They need production. I mean, Giannis is probably going to give you what he's going to give you because he's a pretty tough guy to stop. Although, I mean, he was actually held somewhat in check by Kawhi. But it's going to be the bench guys, and not just the bench guys, but these supporting role guys that are going to have to be key for Milwaukee to not just win this series. I do think they're going to win this series, but to win a finals against the Golden State Warrior team that is incredibly experienced.
Oh, they'll need
with or without Kevin Durant, it's really not going to matter. They're still going to be the favorites.
Yeah.
But, here's the thing, though, with the Raptors. Can they come back and win this series? Yeah. Because, first of all, they're only down 1. But sure they can, because they've got a guy who I'm going to argue right now is the best player left standing in the NBA in these playoffs, period, in Kawhi Leonard. He can take over a game on both sides of the court at any time. Here's the thing, though, with the Bucks, and this is why I think the Bucks will win this series. You know what? They got a scare the other night. They still pulled it out, which to me, that's a good sign of a championship team. But keep something in mind. The Bucks have lost 1 game in these entire playoffs so far to the Celtics. And that was game 1, and they lost that on their home court. And then they took 4 straight and swept the Celtics right out of the playoffs after losing that first game at home. And now they've taken the first game in a crushing defeat for the Raptors, and a nice comeback win for the Bucks, and just a good job of, once they got that lead, then holding on to it after they were down. And they had been down at one point in that game. I'm trying to think how far down they were, actually. I feel like at some point they were down maybe 13 or more.
Yeah, it was about that, yeah.
So, I mean, they were down a little bit. And they came right back. That's the kind of stuff that champions are made of. And I just think the Bucks they're more than Giannis. They have other guys, but they will live and die with him. But I still think they are a good enough team. Even if they don't get everything from Giannis, they're still a good enough team, I think, to get past this round. Mm-hmm. The question is, what will happen when they have to face Golden State? And let's be honest, they're going to play Golden State. Because Golden State is now showing you, after being down by, last night? 16 at one point, maybe more. I can't remember how much they were down.
I mean, it was consistently not consistently, but there was a double-digit lead. Yeah.
But you know what's funny?
I think it was 14, at one point.
And I think I watched a little of that last night. I still had, almost no doubt that they were going to come back. Not necessarily win, but that they were going to come back and make that a game.
Yeah. Because
that's what there is no lead that is too safe over that team. There just isn't. I mean, 9, if not 10 out of 10 times, if you're going to beat them, it's going to be in a close game. You are not going to blow that team out. And certainly not in the playoffs. That's just not a team that you can blow out. There's just too many weapons, and that's without Durant. Now they've won 2 straight games without Durant.
And that's the thing is that I think is the biggest thing right there is that there are 2 things with the Warriors and the and the Trailblazers here. The 2 wins right now were so incredibly clutch because for one, now you can continue to rest Durant. They said they were going to let him rest for 3 games. Like they could let him rest this whole series, get his calf back in good shape, and so that he can come back for the finals. Now, but the other thing that I wanted to touch on, and this is what I kind of want to veer off with a little bit here with Steph Curry, is that this guy, I bash him from time to time for his antics on the court and everything like that. The stuff that he does, he kind of aggravates me sometimes. He's kind of taken that lovable, personality that he's had and turned it into kind of like almost obnoxious a little bit. But I will say, and I will give this guy, I mean, the dude works incredibly hard. And it just goes to show that this guy, he can play almost any type of basketball. When Kevin Durant goes down, they have to shift. And it just showed you right there the type of player and how unselfish he is, how actually unselfish he is, because he could continue to do this when Kevin Durant is on the court. But he doesn't because he knows it's not the best way to win when Kevin Durant's on the court. So he goes out without Durant and just puts up, and he starts raining buckets everywhere again. Raining buckets, and just leading and scoring and just dominating that way like he had before Durant got there. And that's years ago that he used to do that. But he had to flip on the switch. Durant is out, and he just came on and started raining buckets. Durant's game never changes. I don't care what you want to say. His game does not change. When Steph Curry went down, his game didn't change. He played the same exact way. When Steph Curry came back in, his game didn't change. He played the same exact way. Steph Curry is the one that has always just deferred to Durant because he understands if they're going to win, they need to be a team, and Durant isn't going to change. Durant is the only thing that's changed about Durant is that he gets more open looks because there's so many shooters on that team that he can't be as double teamed as he once was. Even as good as he is, he just can't be.
Yeah, I agree. Like, as great as Kevin Durant is, and look, he's won 2 straight NBA Finals MVPs. Mm-hmm. He's clearly, I would say, he's definitely changed the narrative at least a little bit on himself going there.
Oh, yeah.
Going to, look, you can't. Because I keep going back to that thing I said when they first made the move and he went there. I said, well, he better win Finals MVPs and be really responsible for them winning championships, and he's done that. So I mean, it's hard to. I think he's changed the narrative. I do think he's going to be a Knick very soon. But you know what's funny though? I mean, like he is what the Warriors are proving right now. 2 games into his absence, 1 closing out a series, 1 opening the series with a win. I'm sorry, they've won 3 games, in his absence. Mm-hmm. So you closed out the Rockets, who are a tough out, and you've won the opening 2 games of this final series. And all you're proving really, and I hate to say this because Kevin Durant has had a good tenure, but you're proving that he's a luxury item.
Yeah.
It's kind of really all he is. Because they could obviously win and are probably going to win another championship, mostly without him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. They said he's definitely out for games 3 and 4.
Yep.
So that might be enough.
I would just rest him the whole time, even if they go 5 games. The only way you bring him back is if they get to a game 6. And if they get to a game 6, then you might need to bring him back. But even then, you probably don't need to. You could probably just wait until game 7 and then just have him come back, and you'll still probably win because with that much talent, I mean, I can't imagine, especially on your home court.
Yeah,
just rest him as much as you possibly can to make sure that he's healthy for the NBA the finals.
What would be really interesting is if they do win a championship, and let's say they do it without him. Let's say he just can't come back.
Oh, that would hurt.
They do it without him.
That would hurt his legacy.
That would hurt a little bit. Not to mention the fact that he is going to leave. I think he's gone. I think he's as good as gone. And then the Warriors are going to be like, well, whatever. I mean, we can win again because
to go out and get Kawhi.
Oh my God, I don't think that's going to happen.
He won't go there.
But they don't. But they would need to.
They could get somebody. They'll get somebody like that.
You want to know what I hope Kawhi stays in Toronto. I hope that he feels like he's started something here. These Canadian fans have embraced him. They really love him, and I can understand that.
Well,
as a guy,
they have somebody great.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand embracing him because despite everything that happened between him and Pop, and even as clear as that is not, there's no question about, I think, Kawhi Leonard's character, and I can understand why fans would rally around him. But as far as the Warriors go, they're going to win another title. They're going to probably do it mostly without Durant. And that's going to send him to New York, I believe, with Kyrie or Kemba. If I were a Knicks fan, believe it or not, it's tough. I mean, Kyrie is younger than Kemba, but I actually would probably almost want Kemba a little more just because I think he's a little less of a headache. But either way, the Knicks are going to end up most likely with Durant, Kyrie Irving, and R.J. Barrett. And they should be a playoff team next year. Not only a playoff team, I mean, they should be like a Eastern Conference Finals team if they get those three guys. Because there actually are some pieces in place there that are not too bad. So, and they've got the coach they want.
Yep.
Before we sign off, real quick, just got to say rest in peace to Grumpy Cat. Grumpy Cat passed away, 7 years old.
Don't worry, I have the OG Grumpy Cat still. 19 years old.
Grumpy Cat was frankly just too pissed off to stay in this world any longer, and Grumpy Cat has left us. So, rest in peace, ugly, angry little animal.
Jesus. Thank you guys for listening, watching. However you took this in, we appreciate again Lyle Green to come on the show.
Thanks, Lyle.
He is. You can find him at Lyle. That's at Lyle_Green. You can also find him at AT Gridiron, I believe it is, on Twitter as well. So you can find him there as well, and obviously his website, which is www.atgridiron.com. Check him out on all those places. Definitely check out his podcast. It is interesting, especially listening to like that Robert Matheson interview was.
Yeah, I got to check that out.
It was pretty interesting. Like, it just listening to Robert Matheson, it was not what I was expecting. Not at all. The dude is a sweetheart. And I'm calling one of the guys who is an all-time leader in tackles for loss. Just a menacing, defensive end that just would get to the quarter. I mean, he's got like 130 sacks or something. I mean, he was a beast, and he's a sweetheart. I'm calling him that. He might. I bet he wouldn't even care. I think he'd be like, "Oh, thanks." That's how nice he is. All right. Thank you guys for listening, watching, however you took it in. You can find us at www.sportsandsorts.libsyn.com. You can find me on Twitter at EinhornIsFinkel.
You can find me on Twitter at _Bri_man. And of course, as is sort of my new sign off, we've reached the end of our show. And to quote the immortal Tony Stark, part of the journey is the end. So we'll see you next time. Stay classy, Planet Globe.
I love you 3000.
I'm surprised I remembered to actually say that. I thought I was just going to forget.